Hi, guys. My name is Amena Thornton, and you are listening to the One Up podcast. You can see these live videos also by going to the web browser, in your web browser, Amena.Media, to get to the YouTube channel. Again, that's Amena.Media for the web channel, and to get to the podcast, it is One Up podcast. This is a part of the series, Message of Hope, Stories from Struggle to Success. And today we have on Justin and Meyer. And is that how you say your last name, Justin? Would it be pronounced Admire?
It's admire, just like the word admire.
Just making sure. Yep. Okay. Then Justin's here to talk about his story about just taking action. Taking action, don't hold back. And we actually had a little conversation just before we started taping here this morning, and talked about the meaning behind purpose. And purpose in action has similar meanings. So I would like to see, behind that, what's got you started? What brought you here today, Justin?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so very much for having me on. I think the Message of Hope platform is an incredible idea. I think you're going to do amazing and more past amazing big things with this platform. So I obviously, when I see people that are hungry and doing great things, and not just monetarily for monetary value, but because there's a bigger purpose, I want to be a part of that. So, in a very short format, that's why I've came on today.
Awesome.
Is I just want to be a part of that early stage. I really love that, and I believe that this is going to go places that probably are even bigger than the goals you have for it. So I'm excited for you on that, and I'm also excited for the followers that we currently have and the followers that will be on the show in the future, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to impact those individuals. That's kind of my life mission, is obviously to build business, and I've done that through setbacks, which really that title called to me, because I'm like, man, that's been the story of my life, is taking something negative or perceived negative, right? It's all perception.
Yeah.
And taking that and almost being a magician with it, making it a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody has that ability, and sometimes it's easy to ignore or think that you don't have, or think that you need more higher education to figure out, or think that you need a better mentor, or, there's always these excuses, I'm going to call them, because there's that setback in your mind. It's like, I've got this issue, I've got this problem, I've been told I can't do this, I've got ADD, I've got all these things, right? So all of a sudden you start to kind of go in your own mind about it, and you're like, well, that's not for me, I'll move on. And we use that, well, it's a problem, roadblock constantly in our lives. So how do you get through that? And I believe part of that is obviously gratitude. I mean, you've got to be very grateful for what you currently have. You got to be present. Otherwise, it's very hard to get to the future version of yourself, that full potential, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of adapt to that in the beginning and figure out how do I be grateful for this awesome, amazing cup of coffee this morning, right? This is very simple and small, but this is a big part of my week and a big part of my month, and this turns into a big part of my year, believe it or not, right?
Well, a lot of people don't even have access to coffee. I mean, and
right.
that's where we have to remember, like, oh my God, like, we're so blessed with even the things we do have, because it takes people to get the stuff to us. It takes people to give us these resources and forms and everything. And we overlook that, and it becomes easy to overlook after a while.
It really does. And we all are human. And sometimes I'll find myself midweek forgetting to journal a bit, right? So it's okay to fall off. You just got to get back on. But I think at the end of the day, something that I want to discuss today is some tactical things throughout our conversation, because I think a lot of thought and theory happens, and that's where people get lost on these things. They're like, okay, well, that sounds good, but how am I supposed to do that, Justin? I've got 3 months behind on my car payment. I've got, I can't get my hair done because there's no money. So I want to bring throughout our conversation some tactical things that people can start applying today, the hour after they view this, right? And so part of the gratitude part, something that I do in my entire family, I've got a 9-year-old and I've got a 14-year-old, both sons, and they are also included in this. So they're starting that journey early, and I wish I would have as well. It's going to be very impactful.
Yeah.
But we like to journal 5 things that we're grateful for as soon as your eyes open. So you don't want anything else to get in the way of that. There's no cell phone. There's no brushing your teeth. There's no music. There's no breakfast yet. It's just eyes open, grab your journal, and what's the first 3 to 5 things, minimum of 3, but try to get to 5 if you can. And it's like anything, repetition, you're like, I can't think of 1. You'll find 5. through doing it. Write those down, and as you're writing them down, really get into it and understand what, get rooted into what you're grateful for. And every time, Amena, that I do this, it doesn't matter how big of a goal or a challenge or a problem or a fire I'm putting out for the day is, I always feel this sense of happiness that's incredible. And so you've got to be able to journal through that. And that's going to, as you do that, it's going to change your perception little bits at a time every day that you do it, to the point of, okay, now you start to look at something, and instead of saying, oh, a cup of coffee, you're like, oh man, this is my fuel for the day to get to my goals, my ambitions, to talk to Amena today, right? You start to see things differently. So that's the first thing I want to speak on. Gratitude is just tactical. Write 3 to 5 things down every morning. Do it for 21 days and just watch the immediate change from that point on. And I think that's very, very good information. Anybody can do that. It takes zero money, takes a little dedication, a little creativity. Obviously, you can't just write down the same thing every day.
I'm going to throw in something here too, because there was many years that I used to journal. I have notes on if you guys have iPhones, notes is a really awesome tool to jot down stuff. So I was using that I think I have notes all the way to 2012, and it's like over 800 notes now. And I noticed I even have like a journaling software as well. But it's not the same. It's not the same. And I just wanted to put it out there. You have
get
to
the pen out.
Physically, get your pen out, grab something that, like a journal is ideal here, but if you just have some paper, grab some paper, make sure it stays where you get up, right? Would you agree with that, Justin? Like maybe like
wherever you lay your head down and open your eyes at, it should be within reach.
Yep.
I sometimes don't even want to take a walk because something, we're very shiny ball in today's world.
We are.
If you're not careful, an email notification might come off, and you might be like, I gotta check that.
Please
ruins the moment.
Please don't leave your phone in your bedroom, okay?
Well, people do. So
let's start there. Don't. In fact, go like tonight. Start leaving it like in your kitchen, in your living room, in your office, because you don't want that first distraction to be your phone.
100%. And I think the idea behind it all, obviously, is gratitude. You're going to find yourself in a much more happy position, because sometimes it's easy to, especially as we're on social media, you kind of start to compare yourself at times. Or like, why am I not a great artist like Amena, right? Why am I not, why haven't I found success like, John that I went to school with, whatever it is. So you start to compare yourself, and that's another roadblock for yourself. So that journaling is going to remove that competition mindset. You need to be very competitive, but not in that aspect. It's going to remove that so you can really drive down to who you are, and you'll start to get to know you, which is important, far more important than even college, right? Once you start to identify with that, you'll start to really find yourself and really what I call your full potential, which we're all reaching for, hopefully.
Yes, definitely.
Part of my background, I'll just kind of throw it out there.
That's what I was going to say. So where did all this start? Yeah.
So my background, full disclosure here, I'm not a professional. Number 2, I don't have a college degree.
Well, life skills is the ultimate. It's the ultimate, knowledge base is actually living through it. So
I barely made it through high school just because I've always had this sense of leadership in me. So I was able to get a great group around me that really supported me. And sometimes maybe or maybe not did a paper or two, right? Also known as my wife today, my high school sweetheart. We've been together for over 20 plus years, and my GPA of less than 2.0. At one point I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life? But again, that setback, school was very difficult for me, not because of knowledge or anything. It was just that I was bored of it. I was always thinking outside the window, past the walls. I'm like, man, when do I just get to start my dreams out there? And so sometimes the focus wasn't there. I'll just be very honest. It was more me than the school system.
Oh, yeah.
So we got through high school, but college then became a reality for me. I was going to I had a full ride scholarship within soccer. And it was going to be this amazing thing. I was going to be a professional athlete and sign autographs and kick soccer balls for the rest of my life. And life was going to be peachy, right?
Yeah.
All in that same year, that summer, I decided to be a very genius idea. Again, going back to that 2.0 GPA, I thought I'd get a motorcycle. The same year I get a full ride, and I wrecked that thing and tore my left leg out. I was out of commission for a little over a year, right? So all of a sudden, my value dropped considerably to the school, as you can imagine, as well as you can't play soccer. we're not bringing you in because of your GPA. We're bringing you because your skills in soccer. That's no longer there either.
Yeah, now it's not an option because it's a whole.
Right.
You were off your leg for a whole year, right?
Yeah, it was a terrible moment. Again, a setback, and I was questioning, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with life? But there was one thing, through gratitude and just through bigger vision and goals that I never let go of, even though my leg I couldn't use, and school was definitely going away. I'm from a blue collar family, so they didn't have the funds to put me through, right? So my options were getting very limited day by day in that moment. And so I chose to still stay optimistic in that moment, which I think is something you've got to do throughout your life, right? And I go, I may not be the soccer player, I may not be signing autographs, but I still want to be able to provide a very great life for my family. I still want to reach my full potential, and I still want to be impactful to the community in some way. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And so as I kind of came to the realization that college was not going to be in my future, soccer was not going to be in my future, and that was difficult. It was a setback. That was my identity in that moment, right?
Yeah. And I like how you said that. Actually, it was your identity, because
it was my identity.
I think a lot of people, at least on this program, definitely, myself included, we hit a roadblock where we identified so much with this path, this ideal future of ours, that when it comes to an end or a sudden shift happens, we lose ourselves, and it's very hard. It's very depressing. Some people go into depression. Some people just take up a random job and find themselves years later depressed because
settling.
Settling, taking other people's opinions on what they should be doing. But it's a very complex situation, and I totally identify with that. Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons I wanted to come on today is because of this exact topic is problems. I believe that people take problems, and this is all about perception. It's where I started with the gratitude, perception, right? And so I think that when you see a problem or you encounter a problem, either we're taught through the school system or by your parents or somewhere down the road that means stop. It's hot, don't touch it. In reality, that's not at all what a problem means. It's a point to where you get to pivot, transition, and grow. And if you always stop at the problem, you're going to stay very small, mindset-wise, career-wise, father, wife, mother-wise, a grandmother, all of that, you will stay kind of in this box. So if you cannot take a problem and go, okay, this is a chance to pivot and grow, it's always going to be out hot, and you're going to go year after year after year being the same individual. And then people wonder why they're burnt out and why they get depressed. They're not depressed, they're not burnt out. The reality is they're tired of doing the same damn thing all the time, over and over and over. But the one thing that's blocking them is nobody other than themselves, because every time a problem enters their life, they go, oh, I don't want that. I've been told that's hot.
Yeah.
A problem is not a stopping point. It is a beginning point. And you've got to get that understanding quickly. And the quicker and the better you start to accomplish that mindset, the quicker you're going to rock it, right? And so now, because of my perception on problems, I'm able to spring out of bed like a rocket ship, because I don't look at problems as like, oh, here's another day. This is a problem. This is happening. And it doesn't matter how small or big it is. A problem is all perception. One of my favorite ways to describe this, for, again, tactical. I want everybody to leave away with tactical ways of getting through these things. So one of the ways I look at it is, honestly, if I were to spill this water right now on the floor, what would I do? I'd say, oh, I've got a problem. I'm going to get up, go get a towel, and clean it up. Not a big deal.
Yep.
But if I were to lose my debit card at the mall today, I get home, I stop everything. I might even take off work because I got to get this solved. It's a problem. I'm going to lose all my money, right? You see the difference? One, I just know how to do naturally. Go get the towel, clean it up. One, I spaz out. I call everybody. I text everybody. I'm taking the day off. I got to figure this out. But perception, let me set this in real quick. I'm getting somewhere with it. Perception is, really, this is the bigger problem, because if I were to stand up, go get the towel, slip on it, and break my neck, now what's the bigger problem?
Yeah, it's all.
They're all just problems.
It's all.
You got to figure out how to equalize your emotions on problems that are thrown at you. You've got to learn how to deal with problems the same way, no matter how big or small your mindset has put the perception on it. And that's going to help you kind of break through those things. So that's a tactical way to start taking problems in your life and really plowing through them, because it doesn't matter if it's spilt water or a lost credit card. You need to balance them out and go, I've got a problem. It's a chance to pivot. and how do I grow from this once I solve it? Because that's all problems are. It's just looking for a solution.
Yeah,
Should
definitely.
not be a stopping point.
Yeah, and a big one right now is all these people that are losing their jobs right now,
Yep.
when they're feeling lost. In fact, I know a couple that have, and just like is panicking because they're like, well, should I go back to that old career that I used to do that I never really liked, or should I like try something new, or should I do?
No.
And they're just so like everywhere. They're like, I'm kind of doing this and that and this. It's like, well, wait, you need to sit down, calm down for a second. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You know?
Part of that right there, going tactical again, that's what I love to do. It's because I'm from a blue collar area, right? So it's like everything's tactical, right? Physical. But I think that you've got to watch who you have around you, because in these moments in these trying times that we're in right now, it's very important of what you're hearing and listening to. And if you've got somebody in your ear saying the sky's falling, the world's coming to an end, life's over as we know it, that's naturally what you're going to wake up to and start to kind of lead your life on. But if you've got somebody on there, if you got the right people around you, they're like, no, this could be the biggest opportunity for in our lifetime.
I agree with
right?
that. It is.
Which is crazy to say, and I almost am scared to say it on here because people are gonna be like, Justin, you're not thinking of the people that are dying. That's not at all what I'm saying.
Nope.
That's still very real.
Yep.
That is still out there, but I have zero control over that.
Yep.
So I can't focus on that. I have to focus on what opportunities are being handed to me. What problems can I solve right now? And we all know the bigger the problem you solve right now, the more monetary value it's going to hold to it. We know that, right? And so you just got to transition, but that's also going to be who's around you talking to you on the daily. And it could be, unfortunately, family at times, and you got to be careful for that, right? And so that's a whole nother topic. We won't go down that because that'll take an hour in itself. But essentially, you've got to be very wise with who is around you. Are they challenging you in the positive? Are they asking you, are you hitting your goals and commitments? Are they pulling you towards that, pushing you towards that? Or are they really talking down? Are they giving you negative talk like that's not possible right now? Don't do this. Don't take that jump. You know, the world's falling. Who do you have around you? I call it an audit. Take a weekly audit and see who's actually checking in on you. And when they do check in on you, what's their communication? What's the conversation?
Yeah.
And as you start to do that, it doesn't mean you have to cut people off and say, go to hell. All it means is you need to start distancing the time frames you decided. You need to have more control over your time in life, and you choose when to talk to that individual. Because if you're in a spot where you are losing a job, or you're trying to start a business, or whatever it might be, the last thing you need is somebody in your ear negative. So it doesn't mean they've got to go forever, but they certainly can't be in this week when I'm working on something very high priority.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got to take full control and audit that a bit.
I totally agree with that. And I tell people also that, if you have like a social network that you like engaging with and communicating with people, be careful what you write. Be careful what you write about your goals and what you are going after early on, especially if you're set in that vulnerable period on, just getting the courage within yourself to make the steps, the right moves. And then, surround yourself, like you said, with better people, network more, find people that are also doing the same types of things, are writing down goals, are looking for new possibilities and things like that.
Right.
But be careful when you're first starting out, because if you get hit early on, you might fall back, and it's a muscle. You have to take the necessary steps in you and build it slowly. So you get confident enough, or you see like a success or whatever it might be that you are talking down to yourself on. Like, I can't do this because I don't have enough followers, or I can't do this because I get money doing this. Well, once you start gaining the confidence, however that is, then start letting people know, saying, hey, this is what I've been working on. This is what I'm doing. This is the impact I'm making. Because then it's because the negativity is still going to come when you start doing that.
And the bigger and larger, the more productive you are, the more negativity that will arise. So you need to start figuring that out early.
But you already gained a lot of confidence by then, that you're like, you know what? I don't take their perspective as my reality any longer, because I've already moved past that. So I just wanted to throw that.
I love it. Yeah. I think, how do you do the audit and ensure you have the right people around you? Well, I've got one simple thing that I utilize still to this day, and will always utilize it. And I teach my kids to utilize it. And one of those things is goals. Since you just brought that up, I'd like to kind of go into that for a moment.
Okay.
Goals are like a New Year's resolution. Most people have them. Very few ever hit them.
I am
Okay.
curious though, Justin. So when you stopped the soccer career, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do right after that? Did you just start writing goals and like, all right, I am getting
No.
this stuff under control?
No, I wish it was that simple.
Yeah.
And that's why I got on here, because it actually can be that simple. I just didn't have the knowledge to apply it, right?
Okay.
No, I what I did was for a few years I got into the construction field,
Okay.
and my father was a contractor pretty much all of my life. I'll get that. I won't go too deep because I know we only have an hour here. But essentially, my father was working 365 days a year. If there was 366, he would have been there too. Just trying to build his business, and great father, but was always out in the field. So that figure was kind of, we had to watch it from afar, if that makes sense. My mother was one of the most amazing mothers ever, but she had alcoholism like crazy, right? She's been clean and sober for over 10 years now, God bless her. But in that time of growing up, all my childhood, we didn't have that kind of just that typical walk into the household and mom's cooking and dad's there, right? It was a very different thing.
I don't think many people do. It's just we don't like to really talk about it.
Yeah.
It's the storybook,
Early on, I knew that I didn't have the storybook, but things happen for you, not to you mentality. And I sometimes my mother will try to apologize for certain things. I'm like, no, it created who I am today. It created the leader I am today. Why? Again, taking problems and finding solutions. I had to start doing at the age of 6 years old. And what I mean by that is I had to come in and start to react to, okay, how's mom today? When I opened the door from school, I didn't just get to do the hug thing because we didn't know what was going to happen, right? So I had to start reading early on. And I had brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest. So not only did I have to read the situation, but then I had to learn to sell them to like, let's go do this.
Yeah.
So sales early on, right?
Yeah.
I had to shift the environment and create a different environment so that everything was balanced in a good way and life would move on. Because if we took the wrong step or went the wrong way, that was chaos, right? And so in order to stay out of chaos, I had to figure that out at such a young age. And I'm like, thank God, because I use those skills today to lead teams. I'm with one of the largest dealers within the security field in the nation. In fact, we're number one. And I've used those very simple, basic skills to identify problems, to know when things are rough, but we need to go over here. How do you sell a vision? How do you cast a vision? How do you get people behind you to go a direction, right? I've been able to use those skills that I learned at 6 years old. Again, problem, where's the solution? So I was able to do that very early on. So now we'll fast track to when the actual soccer thing fell through.
Yeah.
So I never lost hopes and dreams, but I was like, okay, let's go get in the construction field. That's what dad's always done. I'm going to view it. Well, I realized I'm kind of lazy.
You weren't like physical. You were just like,
people won't admit that. I know people are like, oh, Justin never said it out loud. What I mean by that is it wasn't a true like, oh, I don't want to do anything in life. It was more like, is there a better way to do this? Like, I don't know if swinging this hammer and digging these trenches is really for me until I'm 80 years old, especially when I was looking at my colleagues that were 50 and 60 still doing this. I'm like, I don't know if the financial gain's there or not.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the sales side of real estate.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I like this home building thing, but what if I could just sell it? Remember, because I had to sell from the age of 6 on. Yeah. And I had to lead from the age of 6 on. So I said, well, that was a very natural thing for me. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. So I got into real estate mid-2000s. 2008 hit, epic collapse. I lived in Florida, Southwest Florida. Cape Coral is the number one city on planet Earth for foreclosures. So real estate in that time was, you couldn't give homes away. People were terrified of mortgages. They were terrified of real estate. It was awful.
Yeah.
I'd built a pretty decent life for myself from that at this point, though, during that transition. And I realized, well, if I'm going to lose everything, which I was on the way, everybody was, I'm going to
actually did pretty good.
Yeah, most people were, I'll say.
Actually, I sold the business like I think 3 months before that happened. So
yes, so you did very well.
Yeah, the
And there
same.
was a small 3% of Amenas out there that did okay, but the rest of us, 97%, like, what do
Like I
we
said,
do?
it was like thank God so decided to sell that business.
Yeah. And sometimes you have those
Thank
lucky
God.
moments. But so I said, you know what, I can't go get a regular job right now because nobody's going to pay me with what I did the rat race, American Dream. I had the cars, the houses, you name it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't just go get employment because I'm still going to lose it all. There's nobody that's going to pay me unless they hire me on CEO at this point for what I've made for my life.
Yeah, totally.
So I said, well, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down on my terms. So I started 2 small service companies. One was a cleaning company, and one was basically in the moving industry because I knew those 2 things
Yeah.
were going to
That's
be
smart.
needed. For
That's smart.
foreclosures, needed cleaned up, and then moving, people were moving everywhere, whether it was back to moms and dads or to a smaller place, whatever it may have been. So I was like, okay, those 2 opportunities do exist. There's a problem. Here's the solution. There's this common theme as you guys will kind of go through this today. Problem, solution. And so I went into that and grew those within about 3 years, 2011, 12-ish. I realized, the cleaning industry ended up growing way past my real estate career, believe it or not. So what we did there is we just took the clean, crisp image into a not so glamorous industry, cleaning. It's just, usually wife beaters and cigarettes showing up. Hey, can I clean? We put polos on, we cleaned it up, and man, it just exploded. And I realized one day leading that team that we'd grown, I was like, you know what? I'm not really in it for cleaning. I did this because I had to, and I'm not the leader that will just be in it for the money. And so I basically sold that off. It took a number of years, but we got that all sold off and done. And I'm originally from the Missouri area. So we were down in Florida for 12 years during all of what I just explained.
Okay.
And my kiddos, we had kids in the process, and they kept asking, why do we not have family? And so I was like, well, my answer was just always dad's crazy and loves the beach. But that's why. We moved here very young.
Yeah.
So when that business sold off, I had an opportunity to relocate my kids back to closer to family, which was the Kansas City area. So we did that in that transition.
That's great.
Long story short, 2015 came along, and a sales opportunity came up with the current company I'm with. And I've been there 5 years this month, actually. And I said, you know what, I'll do that for a little bit until I start my next company.
Yeah.
Total stepping stone mentality. I did not have any intentions of staying. But when I got into it, I was able to move through the ranks quite quickly because of that entrepreneurship bone. And because that problem solution mentality, it's very appealing in the corporate world. So for those of you out there in the corporate world, it is so easy to move that ladder as long as you know how to take a problem, find solution, problem, solution. And I grew within that. I started off as a sales rep, went to middle management. They offered me the director role over within 2 years. I think it was less than. By the 3rd year, they had me opening up an office in an entirely new state, ground up, myself and my wife. And we grew that for the last 3 years. That's what we've done, tying it up in Nebraska. That's where I'm at currently.
Okay.
As we relocated to open that office from ground up.
Yeah.
Incredible experience. Incredible thing we did. We grew it, and I'm it's a double-edged sword here. Again, 5 years this month, but 2 weeks ago, I put in my resignation to launch my own business. And I'm part of that is to challenge myself and get myself uncomfortable because comfort will kill you. And I found myself in the last 5 years being very comfortable. I've made it to the top of the food chain.
I'm there with you there. Yeah. You get
just
you're
kind of
comfortable when you have enough money to pay for everything.
The money's amazing. Everything's great. But I'm like, what am I doing? I'm no longer really developing myself. I'm not challenged. I'm just doing the same thing every day, same coffee, same team meeting, I'm not going to say mastered because I think that's the wrong word, but kind of mastered my role. And now we're just growing the team, and it's just about growth, but there's not really a fresh challenge.
Stagnant. It's very stagnant.
It is. And although great, nothing against the company. Again, this is a Justin thing.
No, I totally understand. Yeah.
And so what just happened there, guys? A problem. Yep. So what's the solution? I got to get myself uncomfortable. And I'm telling you, it is. It's very uncomfortable. I've got an entire life I've created, but this reminds me of 2008 again, when the real estate just crumbled. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Fight or flight, put the fire under it, let's go. And man, I grew so much. And so I'm hoping to do that again. And so this is part of going into those problems with confidence is going, okay, I start to seek them now because of all the years of where most run. I've created a problem in my life. And that is I'm leaving a corporate job, safe security, and it pays well.
Yeah.
You go start off something ground up,
new.
Possibly restart at the bottom, which is what you have to do, and grow this thing. And so instead of running from problems, I am literally now creating them to to really find my max potential. So going back to that, that's how I ended up kind of where I'm at now. Was back when I was about 20, 21 years old, the contracting field, construction field just wasn't for me. I got into sales, and I'm here to tell you that's where, if you can find sales and self-development, man, the opportunities are truly endless. I'm a huge advocate for higher education, but at the same time, I don't have it. The top 10 people I hang around with that have done way more than I ever have, and probably I'm always going to shoot for, but who knows, right? If I get there, and none of them have a college degree. So I just have to believe that the self-developing bone and finding real life skill set has to be more profitable long-term, more valuable than a lecture and a piece of paper. And by no means am I saying not go to college, because some people need to.
Yeah.
Some people need to. But it wasn't for me.
It depends what it is, too. Like you said, some things require you go to college for, obviously.
Yeah, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer.
Definitely, yeah. The specialized skills, you need to, get that knowledge to even, take off in that type of career. But yeah, I'm with you, Justin. I didn't finish college. The opportunity wasn't there.
Right.
For where I was at in my life. And then the people that I do look up to as well, they don't have college degrees or anything. In fact, my parents been entrepreneurs. I always like to say 40 years because it feels like 40 years, pretty much my whole life. And they never graduated high school and they do well for themselves.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, it's, again, they don't really teach you how to problem solve in college. Let's start there.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, all they're teaching you really just the tactical skills that you're going to need for whatever you're going into. And it's really just learn how to do as I say type mentality. And you really got to, the better you do that, the better you will do in the corporate world or whatever you're going down. The entrepreneur is not that. There's no set day. There's no set hours. There's no guarantee of success or failure. In fact, it's by hour.
Yeah,
we've all seen that graph. We're like, oh, I'm the best at what I do.
You have enough money to make payroll this week. You have enough money to do your marketing.
So it's two different worlds, and again, not everybody's cut out from that. So I'm not by no means saying don't ever go to college. Know yourself. Yeah. That's where that gratitude things comes into play heavily. Know yourself, and you'll start to identify what are your weaknesses, what are your PowerPoints, and you'll kind of know your direction. For those that are sitting here that might be in the future 18 years old watching this, just know yourself. But I think as we transition, I think the world's starting to open up to where that's not where it used to be frowned upon. I mean, heck, the president just signed something saying skilled work is now available in the governments, right? Like, it's not just about a college degree. So when you start to see those, I think it's going that way anyhow. But there
was a lot of talk about it before. I haven't kept up with it, but I even know like certain colleges would give you a degree. Like if you took your final test, they would be like, okay, well, you have to prove that you had this skill set. We'll give you a final test. You pay your dues, and you can just take the test. I said, but it's not everywhere.
I think people look at college or higher education or anything that we do that is to better our, to whatever it might be we're going into field-wise, career-wise, is once you get the piece of paper, it's kind of like a problem, stopping point.
Yeah.
That's just not the reality. You've got to reinvent, recreate, and be self-developing, in my opinion, 24/7. That's how you're going to reach your potential. The moment you think, I've got my paper, I'm done, you're set. Let's say you do that in 2020. Well, when it's 2028, you're still the version of yourself in 2020. You're behind. You're going to have a struggling, no matter what you're in. If you don't self-develop and keep relevant and keep up to par, and a couple things. You're either going to be stuck in 2020 and 2028, or you're going to be burnt out in the next 5 years. Guaranteed. You get burnt out when you stop learning. And so you've got to just, even if you went to college, learn to self-develop.
Yeah, I like to think of it like this. Like, think of a plant, like you're watering a plant or you're feeding a plant, What happens when you stop watering and feeding it? Well, it just kind of stays the same for a while and kind of like droops and then eventually dies, because you're not giving it anything to go off of, So
that's where you started off on the conversation. That's where the burnout and the depression comes into play. I really believe that is when you stop learning or stop feeling of value to what you're pushing towards. And so self-development, again, tactical information, self-development does that for me. No matter how big my goal is, the more I self-develop towards it, it does a couple of things. It keeps me alive and thriving. But number two, it gives me a lot of confidence because I know what I'm about to go into. I know how to approach it. Doesn't mean it'll go perfect, but at least I have an idea. And so that confidence allows me to push through that problem or that goal where most people go, oh, that's scary, don't do that. Like, what if
Yeah.
it fails? Well, self-development will help you go, well, what if it scales,
Oh yeah.
right?
What happens
And
if it
so
doesn't succeed? Yeah.
perception, again, is everything, Anima, but
Yeah.
it's
So
good.
the goals. How do you usually take down your goals? I know my method
This
usually. I like to see here what other people do.
this is important, and it's going to be different for everybody, of
Yeah.
course. So I'm just going to throw out what works for me and has worked because it's been amazing. Um, and it will continue to be because it's a proven process for me. But I think what we do with goals is very much like a New Year's resolution. We kind of set them up and we cross our fingers and we go, sometime in 2020 it's going to happen. Well, including ourselves, we've all talked to somebody. We can even look in the mirror in most cases and be like, I failed at that New Year's resolution. Well, when you really break it down to why it failed, it's just a couple basic things. And these are so easy that it almost is like, why would you say this out loud? But with a New Year's resolution or goal, you must do two things. Without these two things, it's kind of like a cake without the right ingredients. It's just flat. And so I think that you must, first and foremost, you've got to write them down constantly. You've got to keep them alive in your mind every day, twice a day. When you first wake up, when you go to bed, no matter if there's a list of 15 or 3, it's irrelevant. Make sure you've got them in focus. It's going to keep pulling you towards the goal. The number 2 thing that you're going to have to do is tell as many people as possible. And this goes back to having the right people around you. Because if I tell everybody my goals or New Year's resolution, where most people want to hoard that to themselves, because honestly, nobody wants to be held accountable in today's world. But if I tell as many people as possible, and I actually have the right people around me, they're going to always be asking me pretty much every conversation, or at least on a monthly basis, Justin, where are you at on this goal? How's this going? Are you there yet? Did you accomplish this, that, and that? And whether I did or didn't is irrelevant. It's a good reminder. I don't want to let people down, right?
Yeah.
And so I naturally am like, oh, I need it. Thank you. Thank you so much for getting me back on that. I'm not on track. I've actually fallen off last week. That just got me back on track. Thank you so much. And then you got to put a deadline on it, because without a deadline, urgency will never set in. So if I just say sometime in 2020, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, next thing you know, it's December 25th and I've lost 1 pound. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't do it again. I forgot about it. There was no urgency to ever get to it because it was just going to be some time. So when you put that deadline on anything, expiration date, if you may, make it relatively accomplishable. Don't say tomorrow I'm going to lose 30 pounds, but maybe in August, by August 25th, and then be very specific. This is the important part. Not just August 25th, August 25th by 3:15 p.m., I'm going to have lost 10 pounds, right? So a very specific, tactical way of writing it down every day is going to be a good reminder. And as your days go by, you're like, oh, I've only got 6 weeks. I've only got 4 weeks. So you start to naturally get up and do the action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, I've told the right people, so they're also reminding me in the background.
Yes.
So those things are the ingredients to accomplish any goal. If you write your goals down, tell the right people, and when I say the right people, honestly, just tell anybody that will freaking listen. I don't care if it's a best friend, boss, parent, Facebook, whatever. Just speak it out loud.
Yeah.
When you do those things and then put a deadline on it, the third one, put a deadline on it, you will accomplish more in 6 months than most people do in 10 years, guaranteed. If you only take that away from this conversation, you will change your freaking life, I guarantee it. Because nobody does that. They think if they just create the goal, and it's going to happen. You've got to have those 3 ingredients, and if you do that consistently and do not fall off one day, you will accomplish so freaking much. You all of a sudden, they'll be like, he must have a bachelor's degree. You'll start getting that. He's so lucky. He's the lucky. Everything he does, it just happens.
Yeah.
It's those 3 things. It's those 3 things every time. It doesn't matter the size of the goal that will get you there. So that's tactical information you can literally utilize today, starting today, and you will start to accomplish your goals. And if you forgot to do it in January, who cares? Who's ready for a reset anyway? Do it today. It's 2020 right now. It's your New Year's Day right now. Get it done. Okay? And stretch that out. So that's how you're going to accomplish your goals. Now, how do you actually set your goals? I think most people set them entirely too small. Entirely too small. They need to be ridiculous. They need to scare the hell out of you. And if they feel like you're going to get them done in a year, they're the wrong goals. You need something that stretches you far past today's month, right? Today's week, today's day, today's 24 hours. And so you need to be ridiculous. And when you say it in the mirror every morning or write it down in your journal every night, they need to kind of give you a little bit of fear, like anxiety almost. Like, oh my God, what am I thinking? Am I crazy?
How am I going to do
That
that?
excites you. That gives you momentum. It
Yep.
gives you reason to wake up. Because if I set a goal, I'm like, I can get it. Again, it's like a New Year's resolution with no time, expiration date, and I didn't tell enough people. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to get burnt out, bored, and depressed about it.
Yep.
But when it's a true challenge and it forces me to recreate who I am, redevelop my entire mindset, I'm growing only to reach that ridiculous, audacious, stupid goal that everybody tells me is impossible. Next thing you know, worst case scenario, if I only get 50% there in 5 years, I'm still a better version of myself because of it. I don't think that's a loss.
50% is a lot. Yeah. Yep.
I don't think that's a loss.
You can't ever lose when you achieve, any amount of your goal ever, because you set out to get it and you at least got somewhere. You developed yourself in getting there.
Yep.
You learned from it. You wouldn't have got it any other way, just by like thinking about it once and just like
we love comfort, man. We love comfort for whatever reason. And so I think that when we start to, if half the time we don't even write them down, but for those that do write goals down, they're 9 times out of 10, they're super achievable. They're very comfortable. And what you want to ask yourself is, if I hit this goal, is it going to change me or is it going to inspire me? And if the answer is no, retarget, go higher, go bigger, scale it bigger, get the mindset out. It costs nothing to dream.
Yeah.
Literally. And it's going to create, if the goal is big enough, it's going to inspire, it's going to literally pull you towards it. So you no longer know what it's like to be pushed, right? Well, you're pushed when you have a bunch of small goals. You're like, I got to get all this nonsense done. But when the goal's big enough, it's going to pull you to it. And that's a different feeling.
Yep.
And so you create different actions and you create a different version of yourself, and it forces that, man. And you will lose some good friends out of this, by the way. You have to. That's the uncomfortable part of growing or goals or entrepreneurship. That's going to happen. Most people don't talk about that part. It's going to happen. That's part of the process. It's okay.
Yeah.
But as long as your goals are big enough.
Connect with you later on in life too, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think of it
don't
like
be rude to people. Don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think of it like this too. Even I tell my kids, well, if we want to move or whatever, we might lose connection with our friends here, but it's okay, because everybody
really
has
is.
something in their life going on. They might be planning to move right now. We don't even know it. So
that's right. And you literally just let me put your story, because I love this right here. So let's pretend for a moment you made a decision based on what other people around you may or may not do, because you don't want to move, because what about your friends, right? So you just altered your entire direction of life for the next 15 years. But what you don't know is in 9 months, they're putting their house up for sale and moving anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why that's important to know yourself. Like I was saying earlier, why are you here? What are you grateful for? What are you truly trying to do? Because if you don't, you will always make decisions based off of others around you. And here's where it gets really crazy, is if you get the wrong people around you and you're basing those decisions off that, welcome to hell, in my opinion. Like, it's not good. You're going to be always battling this kind of like, not good enough.
Well, I'm trying to fit in with my peer group, but my peer group is not the direction I want to go in. And I think
so you just get to know yourself, man. Get to know you and do things for you. It's a little self-serving, but you can't help others until you're full.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand and be okay with that in the beginning, so that you can fill yourself up and then help your friends, family, communities, etc. So I think that that's a very important thing.
Well, I bet this happened to you too, Justin, because you just went through a move. You said you moved to your family, right?
Yep.
In Wisconsin, and then you had to move to Nebraska. Was there a lot of like, oh my God, I have to, leave my family after I just moved here, basically?
Constant battle.
Yeah.
And I would never preach something that I don't actually live.
Yeah.
So when I say that you need to move towards your goals, that doesn't always mean mentally. Sometimes you literally got to move.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can't make those decisions I've made over the last 12 to 15 years without knowing what's that big goal. What's the reason? Everything else is down here. Everything. And so I try not to, I'm going to answer your question, but I gotta go through this for a moment. I try not to get hung up on the specifics in life, because specifics are down here, right? Bear with me. This is a specific, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to go to work on time, I got to make this happen, this is a deadline, I got to do that. All these specifics. Here's the problem with specifics. If I'm only focused on them, they change by the hour.
Yeah.
And sometimes if this one changes, it changes 10 more. So I have to change my day. Everything's changing. So when I'm focused on that, I'm always feeling burnout, behind, constantly like I'm not getting anything accomplished because I'm too focused on the specifics. Here's what I encourage all the viewers.
Comes in, isn't it?
Yes. Here's what I encourage all the viewers. You want to get away from that anxiety? Raise up and get to the goal. Keep locked in on the vision. Where are you going? These specifics, I've got news for you. You don't need to focus on them. They happen naturally. You have no control over the specifics like you think you do. All you have control over is the vision. So everything that happens under the vision, I naturally go to and see, I'm driving. But I'm locked on the vision, so I know where I'm at emotionally. I know where I'm at, where my goals are. I know now I can make very educated decisions based off that vision. If I make decisions down here, should I move? Shouldn't I? What if this friend does this? What if this colleague does this? Who's going to think about this? What if this fails? Those are all specifics. I need to go raise my eyes back to vision. And when you're locked in on that vision, now I can all of a sudden make very, not always perfect decisions, but I can make great decisions typically, right? And so that's what I've always done. And so I did go through that. But how I got through that, I wouldn't have moved to Florida when I was 18, right? If I was focused on what ifs. I wouldn't have moved from Florida back to Kansas City, Missouri if I was focused on what ifs. I just had businesses down there. I had lots of connects, what ifs, right? Specifics. And I certainly wouldn't move from Missouri to Nebraska if specifics was what I was basing all my decisions on. I knew the ultimate goal. So every time I did it, it was for I'm reaching. I've got to get to my goal. And so I knew that was a pivoting point and a growing point in my life and for my family. If I made that decision, we were going to expand and get that much closer to the goal. I call it the sun, right? And so I think at the end of the day, yes, I go through that. I'm human. But how do I get through that? I don't let the specifics clog my mind up and put what I call fear in front of me. Instead, those are all natural. They're going to happen if I move to Nebraska, Alaska, California, or Texas. Those specifics it's like baggage. They're with you no matter what. Yeah. So you just got to raise that vision up and go, what's the goal? And if I make this decision today, everything else is going to go in line. But is it going to reach and push me towards that goal? If the answer is yes, I don't give a damn how scary it is. The answer is yes. And when you start ignoring that, that's again when you start to go backwards. Problems start to enter your life when you start ignoring your yes every time. And so that's where all of a sudden you've got these people with bad luck. They don't have bad luck. They just can constantly decide to go against their internal desire or goal and constantly push away from it because they're concerned what this person might think or feel.
Yeah.
And it may not be a person. It could be one of those specifics.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where you find yourself in this like depression. Like, isn't this all full circle, Amena? Like, this is where you kind of find yourself in that moment of like,
I'm just thinking, Justin, can you imagine if you just stayed where you were at when you were 18 and you could have been working at this job that you absolutely hated for the
I can tell you, I would still be a delivery driver at Pizza Hut. And I know that for a fact without a shadow of doubt.
Because that was your mindset then, right?
It was my mindset. It was my circle. It was all I've known. And I didn't have a college degree. So I would have just stayed right there. I know that comfort. Everybody would have told me at least you have a job. Yeah. And I would have stayed there. I wouldn't have grown any. I would still just be slinging pizzas and nothing against it, by the way. I made great money. It was awesome industry. But it certainly wasn't my full potential or why I was here. And I would have stayed right there, still driving the same car, slinging the same pizzas at the same restaurant. And would I have been okay with it? No, I'd have been miserable. I would have been miserable because I would have had this depression. I would have been like, I know there's more. That everybody has that. You ever feel like, I know there's more to life. I know I can do more. When you start to feel that, that's when you need to make decisions. And don't make decisions off those specifics down here. Raise your eyes up, make decisions based off the vision and the goals, and you will not make a wrong decision. Again, it won't always be perfect, but it will always expand you. So that I did go through that, but that's also how I get through that.
Yeah, awesome.
If that makes sense at all.
Yes, it does. Of course to me, but for everybody else out there, you're just going to have to keep listening to this on the podcast.
Listen to this 2 or 3 times. A lot of this is
watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of it's thought in theory, but I'm dropping some very tactical things in this. And just listen to it a couple times. I guarantee you, if you pull out of this conversation what it's intended for, and you observe it for the next day, I guarantee you'll learn more and accomplish more than any 4-year degree.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. So Justin, we're running out of time already. This has been
That
really,
was
really quick. I know. This is crazy, isn't it?
The last thing I want to answer then, and I'll let you close it out, because there's something that's important that everybody
I want to make sure, that if you have something definitely to close with, definitely close with it. And then I want to see.
And it won't be long-winded at all.
For what business are you doing now moving forward, and how people can connect with you? So we'll cover that.
Thank you. So I'm on all social, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's usually going to be Justin.Admire. Look me up by my name, and connect with me. I also do a lot of coachings as well. So although I'm starting a business in another industry, I'll never stop helping people. So if you're starting a business, you're wanting to move up in the corporate world, you're having a basic struggle on anything and everything, you name it, give me a call. I don't typically charge for it at all. Honestly, it's not part of my idea. I just want to help. Yep. And so give me a call on that, DM me, whatever. But I can be found on Justin.Admire on Instagram, Justin Admire on Facebook. Those are my 2 main platforms. Past that, the business we're starting, we're gonna stay in the same industry. We love the industry. We just want to impact the customer service and be more part of the community. In the corporate world, the community's lost a lot.
It's security stuff. Okay.
Yep. Home alarm system and smart home technology. And so what it is peace of mind and convenience is what we like to say. And so but we're going to be going in and obviously protecting homes and families. We love that part of it. But part of what my wife and I wanted to do in the small business part, the reason we're launching, is we feel that the customer's forgotten about in the corporate world quite a bit, and the community's forgotten about. And so we want to just take what we've already done great. We love the industry, but we want to add a little bit more community involvement, and we want to keep the focus customer service. We want to be the gold standard. And so those are our 2 points. We're going to rise up and just continue what we've done in the past. But those are our 2 focus points, along with growing a very successful team that can not only impact their families, a thriving business that will obviously carry on to our children, but also something that will have a leftover, I call it, for charities within our local community. And that's our real reason of going into business. We just happen to be security.
Because you can't do that. You can't do that, of course, when you're under a corporation. You have to actually have your own business to provide
that's correct.
To provide the service that the gold standard, like you said, which is wonderful.
Right. And that's company name. You can find us on Instagram. Amena, it's Alarm Visor, one word.
Okay, Alarm Visor.
Yep. So it's like advisor, but we use play on words. Alarm Visor, one word, capital V.
Capital V.com.
Yep. .com. That's
okay. Correct. And what's your service area too, just so people know?
Yeah. So currently we are serving all of Nebraska area, Iowa area.
Actually,
but
yeah.
That's if they want the professional install for our technicians. But we are also going to be offering a DIY, do-it-yourself install.
Okay. Yep.
So once that will take probably into July, we'll be able to pretty much service anywhere and everywhere because of that for the right individuals. We're not people that want to just stand still, though. We will be expanding aggressively, and we will be in a city near you very soon.
Okay, so check out his website. See if he's already up where you're at by the time you listen to this. These videos stay up for many, 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 many years. So.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
thank
definitely.
You so much.
Check out where he's expanded to by the time it reaches you. So Justin, what did you wanted to close out today with? You said you had that you wanted.
I'll keep it super short on it, but it's going to be extremely short actually. But work-life balance.
Okay.
I think that's something that comes up quite a bit, and people struggle with it more than they usually even talk about. And so just trying to figure out the balance. And I'm here to tell you, quit trying to balance. Okay. And what I mean by that is the better you are at making it all one circle, the happier you will be. And it's very important because if I think about a scale, if I try to balance anything on a scale, what has to happen? If I put more weight on this side.
Yeah. One tips. Yeah.
Okay. So do you already see the problem with balance? One's going down when you try to balance it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to go, well, I'm going to balance it, because as soon as you start going down that mindset, either your professional career is going to fall or your family life is going to fall. And in reality, you don't want either one to fall. So what you really want to try to do is go in what I call orbit. And that's get them in sync together. Get them spinning together. How do you do that? You communicate highly with your family with what you're working on. Let them know what is the day in the life. What's a big goal you have for the month, year, quarter, whatever it may be. What happens if you hit this goal? Get them highly involved. Get their response.
And I include my kids because I'm a single parent right now, but I include my kids. We talk about it every morning. Like, what am I doing today? What their obligations are for them, because they've been homeschooled their own lives too. So we talk about like what they have to reach out for, what I'm expecting from them. And they're still young. Two of them are, let's say 10 and 12. My oldest, 14. Yeah, or 15. She just turned 15, in case you listen.
Yep, it goes by quick. I know. I got a 14-year-old too. I still call my 14-year-old 12, and he's like, Dad, I've been a teenager for 2 years. I'm like, I forget.
Yeah.
But no, I think just going into orbit, Amena, and not trying to balance it. Just be super conversational with the family so that they can understand if Dad needs to go away for 2 hours, they know why.
Exactly.
Right, and I can pour all my heart and soul for 2 hours into that. And then obviously you got to segment time a little bit. Make sure that if you're with the kiddos, put the phone down, put the emails down, put the phone down, and be with them. They don't need as much time as you think. They don't actually want to be with you for 8 hours.
No.
If you can give them an hour and it's a true real hour, that's gonna be more impactful than trying to manipulate 8 hours and feel like you did something great. They don't like you that much. Guys.
You guys aren't gonna remember it. That's the problem.
No.
You want
so just
things that are impactful with that.
And so that's all. I think I it's very simple, but I think work-life balance, we try to make it something that it's not even supposed to be. Balance isn't real. Let's be honest. You probably work as much as your parent or your husband or wife, right? Like in reality, they just keep it super in tune. And if you're in the corporate world, this isn't just entrepreneurship. If you're in the corporate world, or I don't care what you're doing. If you're the cart boy right now, cart girl right now, be great at it. First of all, be the best. But number two, let your family know what you're working on. So that if you have to miss a birthday, they're not like, oh, I hate you. You work at Walmart, you miss everything. If they actually knew why you were there and you communicated it, and they knew that there's a bigger picture than you're just pushing carts around, they'd probably be more okay with it. And I only use that reference because everybody's been through it. And it doesn't matter where you work at. Everybody's went through that moment of, well, you got to miss everything. It's because they don't know why you're there. So just communicate, no matter if it's corporate or you're an entrepreneur. And more importantly, if you're an entrepreneur, but communicate that to the family. It starts to go into orbit and everybody's in sync. And then dedicate specific times where you're whole in that time. And you no longer have to worry or have that anxiety of balance, because balance is trash, and it always is. There's always a negative side to balance. And orbit is just 360, man.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Awesome, Justin. So you had a lot of great information during our talk today on this series of Message of Hope, stories from struggle to success. And, I hope everybody, definitely had their notebook ready when you started dropping.
Listen to it a couple times.
Nuggets, right? Yeah, you're going to have to listen to this more than a couple times, guys. So let me give you the links. So you can see the YouTube videos that we're recording right now here as a live by going to Amena.Media. That's my name, AMENA.Media in your web browser. And then you can also listen to it anywhere you're at, as long as you have connection, cellular, whatever, internet, Wi-Fi. You can listen to it on 9 networks now, including Apple Podcasts, through One Up Podcast. And to get the links to that, the simplest thing I can tell you is go to anchor.fm/oneup. That's anchor, like the boat anchor.fm, like FM radio /oneup. And you can get any broadcast system that you want from there. So thank you again, Justin. And
awesome.
I'll see you soon. Take care and enjoy your
journey. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, and you're doing amazing work. And guys, everybody listening, future and current, if nobody believes in you, just remember we believe in you. Go get it done.
Yes, we believe in you every single day. Every single day.
Let's roll.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You too.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
I do too.